Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
It is a cold morning in Canada. The year is 1986. Inside a hockey rink, fathers watch their children play. Mothers hold warm coffee cups. The air smells like hot coffee and cold ice. This special smell is common in small towns across Canada. Many Canadians know this smell very well. Many of these warm coffee cups are from Tim Hortons. People often drink a double-double, coffee with 2 creams and 2 sugars. This simple coffee shop became very important to Canadian daily life. It was a place for everyone. Farmers went there early in the morning before work. Night workers went there after long hours. Families stopped there after hockey practice. Tim Hortons was more than just a place to buy food or drinks. It was a place for people to meet and talk. They shared local news and stories. It felt like a community center, even though it was a restaurant. The fresh smell of donuts was always in the air. This was a place where Canadians felt comfortable and at home. The first Tim Hortons shop opened in 1964. A famous hockey player named Tim Horton started it. He played for the Toronto Maple Leafs, a well-known hockey team. People knew his name from the hockey games. His first shop in Hamilton, Ontario, was just a small donut shop, but it quickly grew to be much bigger. Over time, Tim Hortons became a very important part of Canada. It showed what Canada was like: friendly, simple, and strong, especially during long winters. It offered comfort and a feeling of belonging. For many Canadians, it was not just a brand or a company. It became a symbol of Canada itself. It showed that Canada had its own special places and traditions that people loved. 2. A hockey player's shop. Tim Horton was a very famous hockey player. He played ice hockey for many years, most notably for the Toronto Maple Leafs. People remembered him for helping his team win important games in the 1960s. He was a strong and reliable player on the ice. Hockey was his main job, and he was known as a legend in the sport. In 1964, Tim Horton decided to start a small business. He opened his first donut shop in a city called Hamilton, Ontario. Initially, he had a different business idea: selling hamburgers with a partner. But soon, his focus changed to donuts. This new shop was not just a place to buy food. It was starting to become something more for the community. A few years later, in 1967, Tim Horton met Ron Joyce. Ron Joyce had been a police officer in Hamilton and already owned a different kind of food business. Ron Joyce saw great potential in Tim Hortons' donut shop. He believed it could grow into something big. So, Tim Horton and Ron Joyce decided to become full business partners. They worked together and quickly opened 2 more shops that same year. What they created together was special. It became more than just a business. In fact, it was like a new kind of Canadian gathering place. These shops were not just coffee and donut stores. They were like community centers. Many people felt at home there. Farmers would gather before the sun came up. People who worked long nights would stop to relax. Families would often visit after their children's hockey practice. The wonderful smell of fresh donuts filled the air, mixing with friendly conversations and the everyday sounds of Canadian life. The shops were places where everyone felt welcome and comfortable, no matter who they were or what they did. This simple feeling of belonging helped the brand grow and become a special part of Canada. 3. A sad story. Tim Horton was a famous hockey player. He and Ron Joyce had started a popular donut shop. But this partnership was not to last a long time. On February 21, 1974, a very sad event happened. Tim Horton died in a car crash. He was driving on a highway near St. Catharines, Ontario, after playing his final hockey game. His car was going very fast, and he lost control. This news made many people in Canada very sad. Tim Horton was a hero. A report later showed he had drunk alcohol and used some medicine before the crash. After Tim Horton's death, Ron Joyce made a big choice. He bought Tim's family shares in the company for about $1 million. This meant Ron Joyce now owned and controlled all of Tim Hortons. It was a major change for the company. Ron Joyce wanted to remember his friend, and he knew Tim Horton loved children. So in 1974, Ron Joyce started something special. He created the Tim Horton Children's Foundation. This charity helped children, often by sending them to camps. It was a way to keep Tim Horton's memory alive and honor his love for young people. This charity became very important for the Tim Hortons brand. It showed the company was more than just a place to buy coffee and donuts. It connected the brand to a Canadian hero and his good heart. The brand's image grew around this idea. It became known as a humble, real, and friendly place, part of the community. Tim Hortons was a place for everyone, from busy workers to families after hockey games. Under Ron Joyce's leadership, Tim Hortons became a true symbol of Canada. It felt like a place where people belonged. It did not try to be fancy. Instead, it offered comfort and a sense of shared community. It grew into more than just a business. It was a part of Canadian life. This made the brand very strong and loved across the country. 4. A smart business plan. After Tim Horton's death, Ron Joyce took full control of the company. He had a very clear and smart plan for how Tim Hortons would grow much bigger. Joyce was a careful businessman who believed in strong systems. He understood that to open many new stores, everything had to be consistent and work perfectly. He did not want store owners to invent their own ways of doing things. Instead, he created a clear model that could be followed and copied for every new location. This made Tim Hortons into a highly organized and efficient machine. Ron Joyce used a special business system called franchising. With this system, most Tim Hortons stores were owned and run by different people, not directly by the main company. These store owners, called franchisees, took on the financial risks and put their own hard work into their shops. In return, the Tim Hortons company received regular fees and royalties from them. Joyce preferred owners who were very involved, often entire families, who would treat their store like their most important family business. This was not just a nice idea, it was a clever strategy. Family-run stores usually performed better and cared more, which helped the whole brand grow strong. A key part of Joyce's plan was controlling the supplies for all stores. Franchisees could not buy their coffee, donuts, or even things like napkins and cleaning products from any vendor they chose. They had to buy almost all their food and restaurant supplies through channels approved by Tim Hortons. This vertically integrated system had two main benefits. First, it made sure that every Tim Hortons across the country had the same taste and quality for its coffee and donuts. Customers knew what to expect. Second, it created a big income source for the main company. Even if franchisees sometimes paid a bit more than market price for these items, they gained the strength of the Tim Hortons brand and its steady customer base. This precise and controlled business model allowed Tim Hortons to expand very quickly and reliably. Joyce's vision built a business empire based on careful rules and strong management. It ensured that as new stores opened, the quality and customer experience stayed the same. This smart business plan was the real secret behind Tim Hortons becoming such a well-known and loved part of Canadian life. It was a powerful system designed for success. 5. A famous brand. Ron Joyce was a smart leader. He wanted Tim Hortons to grow even more. He knew how to make the brand famous across Canada. One very famous idea was roll up the rim to win. This started in 1986. People would finish their coffee and roll up the rim of the cup. Inside, they could see if they won a prize. It made drinking coffee fun and exciting. This became a big part of Canadian life. Every year, people waited for this game. It helped Tim Hortons sell many more coffees. The company also helped children. They started the Timbits Minor Sports Program. This program put the Tim Hortons logo on jerseys for kids' hockey teams. They sponsored teams all over Canada. This meant that parents and kids saw Tim Hortons everywhere at hockey rinks. It made the brand feel like a real part of Canadian sports and community. It became the drink for hockey families. Tim Hortons also changed how Canadians talked. Words like double-double became very common. A double-double means coffee with 2 creams and 2 sugars. This term became so popular that it went into the Canadian Oxford Dictionary in 2004. It showed how much Tim Hortons was a part of daily Canadian culture. People used this word without even thinking. By the 1990s, Ron Joyce had built a huge and loved company. It was more than just a place for coffee and donuts. It was a Canadian symbol. But then a big change happened. In 1995, Ron Joyce sold Tim Hortons to an American company called Wendy's. This was a fast food burger chain. At first, this seemed like a good idea. Wendy's brought more money for expansion and new ways to manage the business. Tim Hortons still kept its Canadian feel and its own offices in Canada. Later, in 2006, Tim Hortons became its own public company again. But the idea that it could be bought and sold was already there. Then, in 2014, something even bigger happened. Tim Hortons merged with Burger King. This created a new big company called Restaurant Brands International, or RBI. A Brazilian company, 3G Capital, owned RBI. This company was known for cutting costs and making businesses run very lean. Many people worried about this. Tim Hortons was a brand that felt very Canadian, built on community. Now it was part of a large global company. The owners cared mostly about making money, not always about Canadian culture or the small details that made Tim Hortons special. This change was a big step for the brand. It showed that Tim Hortons was now a global business, not just a small Canadian coffee shop. 6. Things get bad. After Tim Hortons was sold, people slowly started to notice changes. Customers felt that the quality of their favorite items was not the same as before. The coffee tasted different. The donuts did not seem as fresh. Many people who had loved the brand for years began to feel a bit sad about this. The friendly service that once made Tim Hortons special also seemed to change, becoming less personal and sometimes inconsistent. One big change happened with the donuts. Before, Tim Hortons made its donuts fresh in each store every day. This was a promise of the company, known as Always Fresh. But in 2003, this changed. The company decided to bake the donuts only partly at a big factory. Then they froze these donuts and sent them to all the stores. At the stores, staff would just finish baking them. This change was meant to make things faster and more consistent. However, many customers felt the frozen donuts were not as good as the old fresh ones. Even Ron Joyce, one of the founders, said that the new donuts would never be as good as the fresh product. The coffee also started to taste different. For a long time, a Canadian company called Mother Parkers roasted coffee for Tim Hortons. But around 2010, Tim Hortons decided to roast its own coffee. The company wanted to control everything about their coffee. But after this change, many customers said the coffee was not as good. It tasted more bitter and less rich than they remembered. At the same time, a new and interesting story started. McDonald's Canada began to get its coffee from Mother Parkers, the same company that used to supply Tim Hortons. People started to believe that McDonald's was now serving Tim Hortons' old coffee. Tim Hortons said this was not true, because coffee recipes are secret. But the story became very popular. It seemed like McDonald's coffee was getting better just as Tim Hortons coffee was getting worse. This made many Canadians wonder what was happening to their beloved brand. It felt like their national coffee was losing its special taste. 7. Big problems. After Tim Hortons was sold, new problems started for the famous brand. The company that bought Tim Hortons was called Restaurant Brands International, or RBI. Soon, RBI and the people who owned the Tim Hortons stores began to fight. These store owners are called franchisees. They had big arguments about how the business was run. Store owners said that RBI charged them too much money for their supplies. Every Tim Hortons shop needed to buy coffee, donuts, and even cleaning items from specific sellers chosen by RBI. But franchisees reported that the prices for these goods were very high. They said they could buy the same things cheaper from other places. For example, some drinks and food items cost much more for Tim Hortons owners than for owners of other restaurants under the same big company. These high costs made it hard for the store owners to make enough money. Because of these big problems, many franchisees decided to act together. They formed a group and filed lawsuits against RBI. A lawsuit is a legal case brought to a court of law. These lawsuits said that RBI was not treating the store owners fairly. The Canadian government also started to look into these complaints. They wanted to check if RBI had followed all the rules from its 2014 agreement when it bought Tim Hortons. All these fights and changes made many Canadians feel sad. People started to think that Tim Hortons was not truly Canadian anymore. RBI's main office was in Miami, not in Canada. And the big owners who controlled RBI were from Brazil. This made the brand feel less like the local Canadian coffee shop everyone knew. It started to feel more like any other big global company. Many Canadians felt their special national brand was losing its true Canadian spirit and becoming just another business focused only on profits. 8. The future. Today, Tim Hortons feels different for many people. Its advertisements still show pictures of hockey players and maple leaves, and they talk about community. But for customers, the real experience often does not match this marketing. The company tries hard to look Canadian, but some feel it has become just a big global business. Older Canadians often remember the Tim Hortons from long ago. They think about the fresh donuts baked in stores and the warm, friendly feeling. For them, it was a very special part of Canadian daily life. However, younger people often see Tim Hortons in a different way. For them, it is mostly a fast food place, useful when they need a quick coffee or snack. It might not have the same deep cultural meaning for them. New local coffee shops are also creating a big challenge. In cities across Canada, many small independent cafes are opening. These places offer unique coffee from local roasters and give a strong sense of community. They provide the authentic local connection that Tim Hortons used to offer. These new shops focus on high quality and good service, which makes it harder for Tim Hortons to keep its special place. Tim Hortons still has many stores across the country, more than any other coffee chain. Its loyalty program is very popular, with millions of active users. Famous promotions like Roll Up the Rim to Win continue to make people excited and bring them to the stores. These strong points help the brand stay successful, even with its problems. But the company must decide what kind of future it truly wants. Can Tim Hortons become great again, like it was in the past? Or has it changed too much to be the beloved brand it once was? Perhaps it can find a new path, becoming a reliable and simple place for comfort, without trying to be a national icon for everyone. This strategy would need patience and money spent on long-term brand health, not just quick profits. The choices made by its owners and the daily decisions of millions of Canadians will shape its future. What do you think? Can Tim Hortons find its way back to being a true Canadian icon? Or will it remain just another global fast food chain in the years to come?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.